Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Jasmy Coin's price chart, and I'm going to tell you why I think we are absolutely on track for having a V-shaped recovery, and the structures in terms of Elliott Waves definitely supports this case. So, are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is going on. And I believe the last time that we talked about Jasmy, we were specifically writing here, and the idea was that most likely we are going to recover quite soon and we are going to be back above these levels, but in like very short time you need to give this thing sometimes to play out. And the idea, I think, at that point specifically was having a series of 1-2s, and I was saying maybe from this point, this is 1, this is 2, and then wave 3, 4, 5, and in like very short term this can be another 1 and 2, but on a lower degree relative to this thing. And the idea was that soon we can have another move up into wave 3, 4, 5. So what happened to this scenario? Do not get me wrong, this scenario can still absolutely be in play. However, I think I am now able to come up with a better count. Why? Because let's summon more. Okay, so I don't really think that we are having a lot of doubts about this initial bounce being in form of a clear-cut, beautiful-looking 5-wave on the upside. Followed by that, now I'm going to say this is a correction to about this point, and then what do you have in here? Let's just stretch the scales a little bit. Okay, in my view, we probably have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave up, and the beginning of our impulse, I think, is going to be right in here, since in this phase we are actually having, in my view, an ABC and not an impulse, and this is a correction down, potentially in form of an A, B, C, D, E, a triangular structure, and yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave up. So I am going to argue in Jasmy we probably, through about the highest high in here around 1.1 cents, completed the sub waves for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave, meaning what? Number 1, the bottom is in, let's not doubt that. And number 2, after a 5-wave up, even if you want to go according to the most bullish scenario, what are you going to have? You know it, a move on the downside. Now, I think in the previous video, I actually forgot to talk to you about this. You see, this chart, the one that we are currently on, is from trading view. And if you go on, for instance, Binance's chart, and especially the USDT pair, you are seeing that we actually have some insane shadows all the way down here, about 0.4 of a cent. But on the other hand, if you check out some other charts, I think the best one is actually from Coinbase. You realize that we didn't even get this shadow on Coinbase, and the lowest low is only about 0.87 of a cent. Now, does this affect our analysis? In like very short term, no, since I still believe even if you want to go according to Coinbase's chart, you are able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave. However, in the midterm, yes, this actually does affect our analysis. Why? Because prior to the recent crash in Jasmy Coin, the idea was that we are having off of the lows, excuse me, let's just say this one, 5 up into 1, correction for wave 2, and then another great move up into wave 3, 4, 5. And I was saying maybe this is going to be yet another 1 and 2 structure on a lower degree relative to this one. And the idea was that from these areas, we can have a good move up into wave 3, 4, 5. Now, given the recent move down, even if you want to go according to Coinbase's chart, you are now not allowed to consider at least this 1 and 2 structure. And this is where we do have kind of a conversation in here. You see, if you want to go according to Coinbase's chart, as you can see, in this phase down, we did not take the lowest low down here, about 0.8 of a cent. However, if you want to go on other charts, for instance, from TradingView's one or maybe Binance's one, okay, in those charts, we definitely took all the lows. So the structures in here, I'm going to say, do look a bit different if you want to go according to Coinbase's chart, because this thing suggests, yep, we are probably still having 5 up into 1, and the end of our wave 2, now it's going to be right in here, and followed by that, what are we going to have? Another move up into wave 3, 4, 5. And I guess the main difference between this count and the ones that we are having, for instance, on TradingView's chart, is that, okay, we do still believe on another great move up into our wave 3, but then probably a drawn out correction structure into 4, another move up into wave 5. Now, If you want to go according to those charts that we had insane shadows in them, then okay. In those cases, I think we can assume that we are going to have in our bounce back a relatively strong move on the upside, and the whole move can happen in a span of, I don't know, maybe a month or two. So as you can see, the results overall are going to be kind of similar, but there are actually some nuance here and there. Question is though, which chart do I like? I'll be honest with you, right now, at least, again, right now, maybe in about a month or two, I am going to have a bit of a different opinion, but right now, I do like to go according to trading views charts, indicating, yeah, okay, you know what, we have in the recent phase down taken the lows. I'm not going to say that these insane shadows are real. No, maybe we just wake to about these areas, about 0.77 of a cent. But the point is that, yep, we have definitely taken the lows, and this is actually giving me a beautiful clean whiteboard. Why? Because let's just go on daily time frame. You see, I think we talked about this in the previous update. Now the idea in Jasmy, according to this chart, is that we are having off of the lows down here back in December of 2022, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up. I'm gonna say now into an A leg. This whole move to about the recent low is a correction down in form of, I'm gonna say probably a WXY in form of a double zigzag into wave B. And again, even this can suggest, you know what, we are going to have another move up into our C leg, which and that we are most likely going to take the highs in here for the first target about 5.5 cents, but you know, we may end up going a little bit higher than that. But pay attention, if you want to go according to this scenario, this 5 wave on the upside can happen relatively quickly. Okay, it's very, very important to understand that. Now let's go back on 15-minute time frame and tell you what is going on. Excuse me. Okay, so we said this is most likely a 5 wave up, followed by that we are having a correction down. The question is, can we say our corrective movement is over? Well, according to one interpretation of what is going on in this area, the answer is yes. However, I don't really like that. Why? Because you see, if you want to be bullish in Jasmy and you want to say from here we are going to get a bounce, then okay, I think you have to consider having in this area, excuse me, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up from the lows, which you are absolutely allowed to consider that, and followed by that this can be a correction down, and to about here I guess it can be in form of an A, B, C zigzag. So what's the problem with this structure, suggesting, you know what, maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, the problem is that this initial bounce off of the lows doesn't really seem to be that strong. So I am going to say, you know what, probably this is a correction structure, and on a higher degree, it's actually going to be into a wave 4, followed by probably another move down into wave 5. And overall, I think we are having an ABC zigzag in the short term. And in terms of the sub waves, I think you know it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into A, correction for wave B. Let's say in this case an ABC, doesn't really matter, followed by another 5 down into C, and let's go on the left. So, okay, from the highs, I think we are having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down to about this point and not the lowest low, followed by that, this is most likely an A, B, C flat up, which into our C leg, we should actually be able to find a 5 wave. So far so good. And then we are having, in my view, another 5 wave down into this C leg right in here, completing the sub waves for a beautiful zigzag. And on a higher degree, again, I think this is actually a great looking bullish setup, suggesting, you know what, maybe this is 1, this is 2, and what's next? Good bounce into wave 3, 4, 5. So the V-shaped recovery scenario is still, in my view, fully intact. And if you come back about, let's say, 10 to 15 days later, I think you are going to see that Jasmy, and for that matter, I would say a lot of other altcoins, have completely recovered from all these recent events. And we are going to be probably, by the next 2-3 weeks, right around these levels, about 1.3, 1.4 cents area. So overall, as you can see, it seems like that we really do not have a whole lot to be worried about. Having said that, in the next 24 to about 48 hours, I don't really mind if we get another move on the downside. And in case this is an ABC zigzag. I think in the next phase down in Jasmy, we are going to reach at least to about the higher band of this important level, which is around, let's say, generally the 1 cent area. And for our wave C, we can reach to about the 1.27% of the Fibonacci extension level, which is going to be, yep, right in here, also about 0.99 of a cent. So as you can see, a lot of signs do indicate in Jasmy and probably a lot of other altcoins in like very short time we are going to have another move down. But then you want to see from here a very strong bounce, and by that I'm talking about having a 1 2 3 4 5 without a lot of overlapping of the waves. And the moments that in this bounce we take this important height right in here, about, let's say, 1.12 cents, at that point it is going to be pretty much confirmed that, yep, we are having an ABC in here. This is a 5 wave, and overall, well, we are most likely dealing with a bullish setup, suggesting our move up from the current point is going to continue for quite some time. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Jasmy. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.